The 2000 to 2001 Los Angeles Lakers, famously known for one of the most dominant postseason runs in sports history, led by one of the most dominant duos ever, a 29-year-old Shaquille O'Neal and a 22-year-old Kobe Bryant. This was the closest thing we ever saw to a prime Shaq and a prime Kobe on the same team. This was the biggest moment of overlap of the greatness of both players. Shaq was still at the height of his powers as Kobe was experiencing his breakout season as one of the NBA's leading scorers while continuing to be an elite defender. Additionally, this Lakers roster was arguably their deepest of any of their modern championship runs. More often than not, starting at the point guard position was the experienced veteran Ron Harper. He shot about 47% and chipped in just 7 points a game, but his experience and reliable defensive abilities often go overlooked. The Lakers didn't have a star point guard, but people often forget how deep they were at that position because backing up Harper was Derek Fisher and Brian Shaw. Fisher was 26 years old, and although Harper started more games, Derek chipped in with numbers of 11.5 points, 4.4 assists, and 2 steals on 41% shooting. Whenever the defense would collapse on Shaq, which was basically all the time, Fisher was one of those solid options for him to kick the ball out to, as Derek shot 40% from three-point range over the course of the regular season and shot a ridiculous 51.5% from three-point range during the playoffs. Fisher was one of those guys who did all the little things well, whether it be hustle for the loose ball, take a charge at a crucial moment of the game, or automatically knock down free throws from Rasheed Wallace's technical fouls. Fish was the kind of role player that any team would want when the games mattered most. Brian Shaw was a large 6'6" point guard / shooting guard. Sometimes he would back up Harper and Fish, but he would also come off the bench for Kobe as well. Shaw was another reliable option for Shaq to kick the ball out to, as he too upped his game in the playoffs, going from 31% three-point shooting in the regular season to 35% in the postseason. Shaw was also one of the best lob passers in the entire league. Kobe would sometimes be on the receiving end, but he was more known for his connections with Shaq. The alley-oop pass from Shaw to Shaq was coined the Shaw-Shaq Redemption, in reference to the movie The Shawshank Redemption, which is an all-time great movie, by the way. Kobe obviously started at the two-guard spot, and this was the beginning of him torching the league. He had improved his scoring average by 6 points from the previous season, as he averaged 28.5 points, 5.9 rebounds, and 5 assists on 46.4% shooting. He was also second-team All-Defense that year. Starting at the small forward position was the 6'7", 31-year-old Rick Fox. He was a solid contributor, putting in about 10 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists over the course of the season. Forgive me if I'm starting to sound repetitive at this point, but Fox was yet another reliable three-point shooter for the ball to be kicked out to, as he shot 39.3% from that distance. Starting at the power forward was the Lakers' big acquisition in the offseason, the 6'10" Horace Grant. Horace was 35 years old at this point, so he wasn't what he once was with the Bulls and Magic, but he still chipped in with about 8.5 points and 7 rebounds a game. He also helped Shaq significantly with the interior defense, which was huge, considering how strong the power forward position was in the Western Conference at that time. Everyone knows about the guy starting at center, the 7'1", 325-pound Shaquille O'Neal, the most dominant big man since Wilt Chamberlain. Shaq was coming off of his near-unanimous MVP season with almost identical numbers of 28.7 points, 12.7 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and 2.8 blocks on 57% shooting. There's not much that I could tell you about the Diesel that you don't already know, but simply put, in many ways, Shaq defined that era, especially in the Western Conference. All of the contending teams were focused on acquiring big bodies to throw at Shaq in order to challenge his physicality, and yet regardless, Shaq still dominated playing bully ball. Filling out the roster was the 6'9" power forward, who was one of the most clutch role players the game has ever seen, Robert Horry, and then you had Devin George, Tyronn Lue, Isaiah Ryder, Slava Medvedenko, and simply the greatest dancer of all time, Mark Madsen. Looking at the results of this group, we see that the Lakers finished with a 56-26 record, which was the second best in the league. They had the 21st ranked defense and the number 2 ranked offense that season. They beat teams by an average of 3.4 points over the course of the regular season. They historically dominated in the playoffs with a 15-1 record, although they did not have that season's MVP, who was Allen Iverson. A few of these things are the reasons the 2001 Lakers don't get more credit in the case for the GOAT team title, because a 56-26 record is significantly worse than most GOAT team candidates. Plus their defense was in the bottom half of the league, and they weren't typically blowing teams out either, as their margin of victory was relatively pretty low. For example, the '86 Celtics, who I've already done a video on, had a margin of victory that was nearly 3 times that of the '01 Lakers. But to completely disregard the Lakers for these reasons could be something that's lacking a bit of context. The 2001 Lakers were coming off of a season where they had just won the championship. Watching most of that regular season, they often seemed complacent, and it appeared as if they were simply cruising through the regular season before they eventually turned up the intensity just in time for the playoffs. And man, did they turn it up. The Lakers won the final 8 games of the regular season heading into the playoffs. Combine that with their 15-1 postseason record, and the Lakers finished the most difficult time of the year, winning 23 out of 24 games. What was incredible about this team wasn't just the fact that they went 15-1 in the playoffs, but it was who they beat to go 15-1. This was at a time when the Western Conference was stacked with talent and powerful teams. They started their postseason run up against the 50-win Portland Trail Blazers, the same team that had pushed them to 7 games in the Western Conference Finals the previous season. They destroyed the Blazers, sweeping them in 3 games with an average margin of victory of 14.7 points. The second round was against their rival, the loaded 55-win Sacramento Kings. Well, despite the hype, the Lakers swept them too, winning by an average of 9.2 points. Shaq and Kobe's imprints were all over this series, as Shaq dropped 44 points and 21 rebounds in Game 1, and then 43 points and 20 rebounds in Game 2. Then it was Kobe's turn, as he dropped 36, 7, and 7 in Game 3, and 48 points and 16 rebounds in Game 4. Surely the San Antonio Spurs would give a greater challenge. This San Antonio squad was led by Tim Duncan, David Robinson, and Derek Anderson. They had finished the regular season with a 58-24 record, which was the best record in the entire league, even greater than the Lakers. On top of that, San Antonio had the best defense in the league as well. The Lakers were not supposed to sweep this team. But not only did they do that, but they absolutely demolished them with an average margin of victory of a whopping 22.2 points. Kobe was leading the way, averaging 33, 7, and 7 on 51% shooting. Iverson's iconic 48-point performance was good enough to steal Game 1 of the NBA Finals. But after that, it was business as usual for the Lakers, and this time it was Shaq leading the way, putting up 33 points and 16 rebounds on 57% shooting over the course of the finals. These were the averages of Shaq and Kobe over the course of the entire playoffs. You can argue who was Batman and who was Robin over these playoffs, but whoever was Robin probably put up the greatest playoff performance from a Robin in NBA history. After the season was over, everyone in the media was comparing this team to the '96 Bulls. Over time, people haven't made that comparison as much, since I think a lot of people have forgotten the context that shows just how great this team was. Ultimately, this Lakers squad had it all. 2 all-time great alphas, a collection of shooters who are surrounding stars that demand so much of the defensive attention, clutch performers with championship-level experience all over the roster, and arguably the greatest coach in NBA history. This Lakers unit would likely challenge any other all-time great team. So the question is, could any other historic team beat the 2001 Lakers in a 7-game series? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for watching as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.